Hello, first years, and welcome to another video. This is about 5.4.2, so the second part of 5.4. Last lesson we learned about flowers and what flowers look like, and they've got their female parts, the pistils, and their male part, the stamen. Do you all remember? I said in that video, that the two gametes, they come together and form a fruit. So that's where we're going in this video. There are a few goals in this video. One of them is to distinguish annual, biennial, perennial, and woody plants. And another one is to understand how fruits are formed and dispersed. All right, so let's look at this circle. This circle is a circle of a typical annual plant. It says the seed germinates, the plant grows, it flowers, it produces fruit, the fruit releases seeds, the plant dies. So in this circle, every year the plant dies and the seed survives. So the seed is a new baby. There's also other possibilities. This is an annual plant. A biennial plant, so bi means two, a 2-year plant will grow in the first year, and then it will store all the energy it made by photosynthesis. And in the winter, the above ground plant dies. In the second spring, it flowers again, so it will form fruits and flowers. And after that, it will disperse its fruits and seeds and die itself. Then there's also the perennial plant. Perennial plants, in spring they come up and they grow from their seeds. Then they make flowers and fruits. Then the above part of the plant dies, and the food which is still in the roots, they stay. And from the food in the roots, maybe with the help of bulbs and tubers, they grow again next year, and they form new flowers and new fruits. And they, in the meantime, every year, they disperse their fruits and seeds. The last one I would like to talk about is woody plants. Woody plants, as you know, are trees. So first they take on some time to fill themselves with wood. So the xylem certainly grows in primary and secondary growth. And when they're old and strong enough, they will form flowers, and those flowers will be pollinated. They form fruits, and fruits containing seeds, and those seeds will be dispersed. And the non-woody part of the plant in autumn will wither and will die in winter, and the woody parts will stay strong, and in the next spring they will germinate again, and they will form new leaves and flowers. All right, so that's for the different kinds of cycles. So let's move through this presentation. Remember, this is a wind pollinator plant, and a wind pollinator plant has the stamen hang outside, so the wind can grab the pollen grains, the wind pollen grains, very easily. All right. So, and there's also wind, except from wind pollinators, there's also insect pollinators, and insect pollinators, they go to these kind of flowers which have bright colored petals, and you see that the pistils and the stamen are inside, and they produce nectar and a scent, and so on and so on and so on, like we learned last lesson. So this is, for example, an orchid, and this orchid really looks a bit like a bee, so it attracts the insects. But that's all from last lesson. Yes, here we are for the next part. So let's say there was pollination, and it doesn't matter in this case if it is self-pollination or it is cross-pollination. There was a kind of pollination. So then the pollen grain is on the stigma. The pollen grain then forms a pollen tube. Inside the pollen grain are cells which can form this tube, and inside is also the sperm cell, the gamete. And the pollen tube will grow through the style all the way down to the ovary, where it reaches the ovule, and inside the ovule is the egg cell. When the pollen grain, male gamete cell, and the female gamete egg cell fuse with each other, so they meet each other and then fuse together, they form a seed. And those seeds are then inside the ovary. Once all the ovules and egg cells are fertilized, then the flower will wither away and the development of the fruit will start. So this ovary will then grow into a fruit, for example in this tomato plant. You see that the flowers will wilt away and will be that typical crown you see on tomatoes or on every other type of fruit. And inside the fruit are the seeds, and they are of course inside the ovules. So the seeds are the combined male gamete pollen grain cells and the female gamete egg cells. So when those fruits are formed, they have to be dispersed, they have to be spread. Well, plants have several kinds of doing that. This is, of course, you recognize this one, right? It's a dandelion, and it's the fruit of a dandelion. So can you guess how these seeds are dispersed? Of course, it is by wind. These are parachutes, and these fruits, inside these tiny fruits, are the seeds of the dandelion. And the wind will bring them anywhere. So they have to produce a lot because the wind doesn't care for if the spot where they're gonna land is good or bad. So wind dispersal plants, they have to make a lot of fruits and they have to be very light-weighted. For example, if you are a plant which produces a coconut, then you won't be able to get it this far by wind, right? So you're, for example, and depending on the floating capacity of the sea to bring your seeds away. So there are multiple ways in which plants can bring away their fruits. So it's not only by wind. This is a kiwi, and as you know, you can eat kiwis. So if you look inside here, the white part is part of the ovule, the black part is all the seeds, so all the fused egg cells and pollen grain cells, and the green part here is the juicy stuff that you might like to eat. So this one is dispersed by animals. Going even further, we see a strawberry here. One strawberry is actually 200 fruits or so. So every tiny green dot here is a fruit and it contains a single seed. This is actually not one fruit, but a false red fruit, but still it's lovely to eat. And in this way, if we eat it and the tiny green fruit seeds get in our abdomen and get through our intestines, and we do number 2 in the toilet, then we help to spread the strawberry plants over the world. So are there more? Yes, there are more. There's, for example, you have to know about 3 types of dispersal. There is animal dispersal, wind dispersal, and self-dispersal. Animal dispersal, also there's different kinds of possibilities. So there's like hitchhikers, so sticky plants, cleavers, kleefkruid. There is takeaways, like acorns and other nuts. So you know that for example, squirrels, they take away the acorns, put them somewhere else in the soil, then forget about them, and a new oak tree will be able to grow there. And there is the juicy fruits. The juicy fruits are eaten by animals, like ourselves, and we poo them out again. So they're having a shitload of food with them when they want to grow. By wind dispersal, there's 2 types. There's the winged seeds, for example, from the sycamore tree, and there is those parachutes that I just showed you from the dandelion. In self-dispersal, there are also different kinds of. We have the pepper pods and poppies. When they open, they just spread the seeds out. And there is, for example, the balsam, and the balsam explodes the seeds. So it puts it on a high pressure, and a bomb! It explodes open, and it hurls away the seeds and the fruits. All right. So now we came to this part again. So it's just a gentle reminder that if you hadn't handed in your plan assignment yet, please do so. All right. So today we talked about different kinds of life cycles in plants. There are annual, biannual, perennial, and woody plants. We talked about how pollination will lead to fruit development and in which ways fruit will be dispersed. Okay, let's go over the book as well. You see that we talked about pages 140 and 141. In this piece, you will find how fertilization works, and here how dispersion works. This will tell you about the different life cycles, about annual, biannual, and perennial, and on the next page about woody plants. And here is a little piece about how seeds actually get their food to grow, but I already told you that one in another video. It is because they have cotyledons with them, and those cotyledons contain a lot of food, and so they can drink through this little tiny holes here inside the seed inside the seed coat of the bee. All right, so now you will be able to fill out some exercises, and the exercises available for you are 8 until 20. So it's quite a lot, 8 until 20. Those are starting at page 80 in your workbook. Thank you for your attention. I hope to see you soon in real life, and thank you for your attention. Bye bye.